record this meeting so I can put it up on YouTube as well. So right here is my contact information, and if you want to follow me or anything, it's right there. A little bit about me. I taught high school English, all kinds of pre-AP, itinerant support, the whole gamut of everything. I was a curriculum coordinator at Harlandale ISD in San Antonio, so I was over grades 6 through 12. That's before I decided to go out and really do what I want to do the most, which is work with teachers every day and empower teachers, which is my passion and my goal in whatever way that I can. And what I've been doing since I decided to do that. I like to travel. I like to run. That's kind of me in a nutshell. And I just want to make sure that I'm monitoring the chat. Come on, computer. You know how sometimes you want to read the chat and it pops up so you can't see it? Oh, how to do the poll. So there's questions about the poll. You set up the poll in your Zoom meeting. So if you're using Zoom, you would go to the individual meeting and set up the poll, and you just add in the questions. You do have to have polls turned on. If I have time, I can show you how to do that. In Google Meet, you can also do a poll. I haven't really played with that just as much because most of the time that is not what I'm using. All right. I also, just a quick shout out, these are my 2 books that I've self-published. My latest one is The Intentional Classroom. That's really about kind of having a lot of purpose in what you're doing. These are both actually available on Amazon if you want follow-up to what we've talked about today. All right, so these are our learning goals. I think it's always important that we have intention in what we do, right? We have purpose. So we're gonna really understand the key parts of a workshop classroom, but then we're also going to understand how to create spaces and places for the work in a hybrid online classroom. And I think it's very possible to do that. And I think for some students, being able to do some work at home actually will help them do that. It's about looking at this, I think, as an opportunity to do some different things, right? I feel like we're already doing a lot of experimentation, so we have the opportunity to do that with what we're doing. And our success criteria, because I believe it's important to know what it means for us to be successful. You're going to collaborate with your fellow participants and come up with your own plan for workshop in an online or hybrid classroom. So at the end of the day, if this is what you've done and you leave with an idea of what you can do, that is success to me. That is an A+, check plus 100 for today. All right. When I think about the big picture of workshop, right? Different people have different parts, and what I have in there might look a little bit different from what your elements of workshop are, and that's fine. What I think about when I think about workshop is it's student-centered. Students are doing the work. Students are doing the reading, they're doing the writing, they're receiving feedback from each other and you, and they have an opportunity to share their work. To me, that's the big picture. There might be different elements that you choose to do, different strategies, but at the end of the day, if the students are doing the work, getting feedback, sharing their work, through the writing process and such, that's where I think we get the really essence of workshop. If it was a traditional classroom and I walked in and kids are writing and kids are reading and kids are interacting and they're working on understanding complex text together and they're working on composing pieces of writing together, that's workshop. And you might do it in different ways, but that's workshop to me. These are the elements that I consider to be the structural pieces of workshop. A reader writer notebook. If you're using a reader writer notebook every day, I know that you're writing and you're responding to reading every day, which means that element is clear. Independent reading, this is self-selected. I mean, to me, it's self-selected reading, but I know that not everybody has moved to full self-selected reading. But independent reading, even if it's a whole class novel or literature circles, as we get closer and closer to being able to be fully self-selected. The mini lessons, those short pieces of direct instruction that we know we have to model for students. The use of mentor texts, models for students to write from. And we can still do that even in this way. Collaboration, which I know is the largest challenge when you don't have everybody in the same classroom. And then conferring, which I actually think there's some really interesting opportunities with online to have really strong conferences with students. because the timeline is different. So one way, and I'm going to show you a couple things, reader writer notebook, you can absolutely have students still keep like their regular composition book. But you could also have them create an online notebook or even portfolio using something like Google Sites. Depending on what platform you use, I know Microsoft has a different platform. I'm not exactly sure what Schoology allows. I'm still new to the whole Schoology thing. But I just want to show you, I mean, you could have, and it's going to take me a second to get here probably because here we go. So you could have your students create, and you would have to show them how to do it, but you could have students create an ongoing online reader writer notebook by using Google Sites, using the Google Docs, the Google Slides, where they could keep an ongoing journal in a Google Doc. And this is shared with you, so you can always kind of check in on it. They can keep their self-selected vocabulary. They could keep a dialectical notebook of what they're reading. All of these could be done online. Students in your classroom could keep this as well. So regardless if they're online or in person, they could create not only a portfolio, but a notebook. So I have 2 pages in here. So I have the notebook, and then I have maybe where I would keep the papers or the process papers that I'm working on, annotated text, things that I'm working on, I could keep in here. And then I could keep my more informal notebook. If you're not familiar with Google Sites, if we have time at the end, I can kind of show you how you would set this up. It's pretty easy to create. There's lots of templates. It's pretty easy to show your students how to use it as well. But all they would do is they would create it, they would share it with you, and then you could keep up with the writings in their journal, the words that they're selecting for their self-selected vocabulary, all those kind of different elements could all happen in an online notebook. Any questions as we've kind of gotten started? I know I've been talking a lot. So any questions? Anything that's like burning in your mind that you just need to ask right now? Anybody? All right. Please let me know if you want me to re-go over anything or talk about anything. All right, so the next one is independent reading or self-selected reading would really be the ultimate goal. We know that's in the TEKS now, and students should be reading things that they choose. You can, and of course, I'm a big proponent of just letting kids read and be comfortable. And I think if some of them are at home, that actually gives them an opportunity to read in an area that's really comfortable for them. You don't have to have the like reading logs and things like that, but I do want kids to talk about what they're reading. And one way that I think you can do that is using the application Flipgrid. I'm not sure of who has used this before. It's a pretty popular app. I think it's a great way to do book talks. And so I'll actually show you, let me go to my flip back to here. I've actually done this with a lot of trainings that I've done with teachers. So what you would do, and this is my Flipgrid page, and I've created this assignment. And I actually I'll show you a portion. This is me modeling a book talk to students. Hey guys, this is Kristen, and this is your assignment. You are going to record a book talk on Flipgrid, and you will share it with all of us on Flipgrid. I'm going to show you how to do a book talk, so you have a model, and then you'll be able to upload that video. So I'm going to do a book talk for The Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. So I go on and I do the book talk, and then these are teachers, right? Because these are from trainings, but your students would go on and record their book talk. They can comment on each other's book talk. You can have them, you can make sure that they leave comments for however many students. These can be shared out on Google Classroom. These can be shared out, I believe now on Microsoft Teams and Schoology as well. And so you might not have the kids in the classroom, but you still have some interaction. You can hear them speak. You can hear them talk about the book. So we still have it's creating some of that interaction that we miss, right? When we have kids in different places. So it's creating some of that interaction that we miss. All right. So there's a question. I had teachers create book talks this summer so they could practice. They're hopefully having their, yes, absolutely. And the great thing about it is if you have your practice book talk up there, your kids can watch it anytime, right? So, and I love all these ideas. There's a district site so everybody can see them, absolutely. But I think it's one way that we can get that interaction in workshop that students are talking about. All right, I love all these ideas that you are putting up. Awesomeness. All right. So mini lessons, I think there's a couple ways that we can do these depending on how our campus is set up. So I know some campuses are more asynchronous and some campuses are more synchronous where the classes are all live online. Either way, you can do mini lessons. You can model how to analyze a mentor text, any of those things. So you can either record a video, which I think you should do anyway. Even if you're doing synchronous, I think you should record the video so the students at any time can go back and look at your instruction. I think that's a huge benefit is that students have that on-demand lesson from you. So if you're doing completely synchronous, record it the first time. You know, record your mini lesson during your first class so that your students have that throughout. And of course, you can always do them live synchronously. But you can have, by the end of this, you might have it so many mini lessons that you can use for future instruction as well. So that, I mean, that's a pretty straightforward way to do the mini lessons. Mentor text, if you have a document camera, I would absolutely use it because you can most actively show how you can annotate text. An online document, if you have the document online and can annotate it as well. So you don't have to have a document camera. You could just have the document online. Or if you have an iPhone, you can actually use the iPhone as a document camera. And I believe you can also use an iPad. So if you don't have an iPhone, but you have an iPad, you can use that as a document camera as well. You just, when you're sharing your screen, on Zoom or on Google Meet, you would have it go to, there's an option to go to an iPhone. Recording. Okay, so some districts are not allowing the recording of synchronous sessions. Then what I would do, if you can't record a synchronous session, I would record the video and play it during your synchronous session. That way you still have it there and it's available. And I know the hardest part of this is the different rules that you have to follow. And I'm very sympathetic to the fact that I might say something and that might not be something that works for your district, which is why I think when we kind of get together in breakout rooms, we will hopefully be able to talk through some of those things. Collaboration. So that, y'all said, is probably the biggest challenge. And I know sometimes the biggest challenge is some of those regulations. Google Meet, we know, and if you haven't seen, the latest update of Google Meet does allow breakout rooms. So that's where you can break your students into smaller groups to work on something to discuss. There's also Google Hangout, which is another option. And I forgot to put on here, and I meant to do it last night, I forgot. Google Docs, Google Slides. You can have students work on each other's pieces of writing in Google Docs, leave comments, make revisions. It's there for collaboration. So even if they don't really want you to have them maybe in a separate breakout room because you can't supervise them, think about how you can use Google Docs, Google Slides, where students can work together on a piece of writing or a presentation together. It's not the same, but it's trying to get to that collaboration piece. And then of course, at Flipgrid, we have some collaboration as well. Conferring. This is where I think you have an opportunity. Let's see. Ideas how to do a traditional turn and talk during an active engagement in a mini lesson. I think the turn and talk is a Jenna and when we go into breakout rooms, I think what you'll see, I think to me using breakout rooms throughout in different ways is a great turn and talk, think, pair, share. Because if you get really good at using breakout rooms, you can have people in a breakout room for a minute and bring them back. It's what I do. Some of my presentations I do all day. There are 6-hour trainings online, and we do tons and tons of turn and talk, think, pair, share, things like that using breakout rooms. And now that Google Meet has breakout rooms, you have another opportunity, because I know a lot of districts are just using Google Meet because it's what is offered. And now that Google Meet has breakout rooms, I think you have a lot more opportunity there. So in terms of doing conferences with students, you know, depending on your setup, I think there's a lot of opportunity to set up one-on-one or small group meetings online. Having those open office hours where students sign up for a 10-minute section of your conference. That's where I think we actually have, because I think one of the biggest blocks to conferences is, oh, it's the classroom management in my classroom. Well, if your kids are online and they set up a time to meet with you, you really have this great opportunity to have this short but very specific amount of time with them. And I think that is what is offered. All right, so no breakout rooms with Microsoft Teams. I'm so sorry. But I think you can have a one-on-one, a short one-on-one with your students without having to worry about lots of crazy classroom management issues online. And I think that might be that benefit. You can do during, I know some teachers have in their schedule a time where kids can log on, have them schedule a time with you to do a conference. And I think we have some flexibility there that we can make it very powerful. And then someone just shared a great Google Doc on there. So make sure you check out the chat for resources as we go through. So I do want to send you to breakout rooms because I want to show you what you can do with interaction in your classroom. So I'm going to randomly put you into some small groups. I will definitely hop into some of your groups to see what you are discussing. Because that's one of the benefits of breakout rooms, is that you can hop into each breakout room and kind of check in on what your students are talking about. So what I want you to think about is, how can you make this happen? How can we increase this collaboration? How can we get students interacting? How can we have them doing that reading and writing workshop part? And I know a lot of you, of course, this is CREST, so most of you support teachers. So discuss, how can you help your teachers make this happen, right? So if you're the language arts coordinator like I was, how are you going to advocate for your teachers? How are you going to train them? How are you going to get buy-in for what you would like to see? Those are the things I would like you to talk about with your group. And so, like I said, I'm going to put you into breakout rooms. I'm going to say about 4 people per group. So you guys are going to be in 21 different groups. I'm not going to be able to hop in with everybody, but if you see my face pop in, I'm not like stalking you. It's not weird. Go ahead and discuss these and really problem solve with the others in your room. So I'm going to go ahead and open those. You're going to need to join them. So hop on in. You'll see the option to join your breakout room. Please unmute yourself so you can talk with the people in your group, please. All right, make sure you join your breakout room, because I don't want people in their breakout rooms by themselves. We want to make sure there's someone in there to talk to. Looks like most of you have joined. See, Melanie Resendez, make sure you join. Jenna. See, Betty. And Crystal, make sure you join your breakout group. Maria, join your breakout group. Alexandra, Ire, Renee, Megan, make sure you join your breakout group. Alexandra, it should have popped up. Okay. Welcome back. Know that if you've just come back, you've been automatically muted. So if you have a question, please unmute. All right. Slowly but surely, we'll get everybody back. And I'd like us to briefly share out our thoughts and ideas and things that we talked about. Hello, hello. All right. Now that I think most of us are back, I'd like someone to unmute themselves and tell me a little bit about what you guys talked about in your breakout room.
I'm an HEB, and in our breakout room, we kind of talked a little bit about getting people comfortable with using the new technology and how some teachers are still not feeling comfortable with what they need to be using with their students.
Oh, yes, making sure. And that's one of those big hurdles we've had to really jump over is in order to really integrate it, people have to feel very comfortable, and that's experience. But supporting teachers and whatever way you can to do that and being, I think, very understanding is definitely one of the things that we need to do. What else? What is what another group talked about?
I'll go ahead and jump in. Oh, go ahead.
Okay,
right.
so well, this is one thing that we discussed is that this is really hard when you have some kids virtual and some kids in a classroom. Even if you can get a good conversation going where everybody's managed and monitored, there's that awkward like, oh, and so much of our time right now has to be a balance between, not being wasted and getting this meaningful conversation down. And so we did share several platforms that we're all using, but unfortunately some of them are not live, and so it's not immediate feedback and discourse and conversation. It's things that you have to wait on, and kids have to remember to go back and check the feed or the blog or whatever.
Right. No, and it's growing pains, right? It's trying to figure out with what you have, and every district is going to have something different. And I think that's part of the problem solving that we need to do at districts is how do we best use what we have? And it's going to be a little different for everybody, but there are definitely growing pains and trying to figure out how do you best make this work with whatever you have. One more. Well, let's get one more.
I'll go ahead and just pop in too. And this is just kind of turning what everybody else has been saying up to 11. So one of the things that we see, and I'm in Birdville ISD, so very close to you HEB folks, just right next door. One of the things that we see is that a lot of teachers are trying to move their face-to-face old work into a new sort of asynchronous environment. And I think in that process, we lose the why, and when we're so focused on the how, that we lose track of the why, and that creates some disengagement as well. So
you definitely need to think about the big, broad goals you have. Like, what is your goal for the week? What do you want students to learn? And it's not going to look the same as in a traditional classroom. Absolutely. You got to keep the why, the purpose. Why am I doing this? Why have I created this? And that is key to that as well. All right. While I'm open here, I'm going to stay on for questions. If you want to read a little bit more, especially about setting intentions and purpose, the Intentional Classroom is my latest. And that's what it talks about. And I do have a chapter on online and hybrid learning. Those are on Amazon. And I also have blogs on my website that if you just want to explore the blogs before you look at a book, the blogs talk about some of the same things. I am going to do one more poll. It's your exit. It'll be your exit ticket. Let's see. Poll number 2 before we wrap up. All right, so you have one more poll. It's your exit ticket. But if you have questions, please feel free to unmute. Please feel free to put them in the chat. Let's see. The recording, I'll probably put it on my YouTube channel. That's the easiest place. If CREST wants to share it as well, that's perfectly fine as well. But I will probably put the recording on my YouTube channel. And there's some other, I actually already have one on workshop on there as well. And so that might be helpful. Let's see. Talking about encouraging students to share in breakout rooms, comfortable participate, absolutely. And just so, and I'm sure y'all notice this as teachers, y'all are going to talk more in a breakout room than in the group with everybody else. Kids are the same way. They're going to talk more to each other in a breakout room than they're ever going to if you have 30 kids on there synchronously. So, all right. I think, Alana, I'm already over my time, I believe. But I was really enjoying hearing everybody. Again, my name is Kristen Henry. This is my contact information again. If there's any follow-up, please feel free to email me, message me on Twitter, any of that information. I'll give you a couple more seconds on the poll because I know people want to go eat their lunch. And let's see, there we go. Let me share the poll. What will you try? Virtual book talks. It looks like that's what people have decided they want to try. Also a virtual notebook or portfolio. So thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to come see me today. I had a great time with y'all. And like I said, I'll stick around if there's any questions. If not, have a great lunch and have a great rest of CREST today.
And do you have a specific instructions for your writing portfolios? I entered a little late and just saw the tail end of it. Is it in a book or?
What you would create, and I do want to say I have it on one of my YouTube channel videos. It's definitely in one of my blogs. But you would create a Google Sites. Right. So with my online trainings, like if you have an all-day training with me, I created a Google site for the training. So you can go back to all of the documents. And so it's kind of the same thing with students is you can create one, but then you can have them create one where they put, and it actually helps you create a portfolio. They have their final drafts of their work, but you can also have a separate page where it's their ongoing journal, their free writes, their vocabulary. And I would use Google Sites because I'm familiar with Google, but I know other platforms have other tools you can use to do that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Any other questions?
Kristen, beautifully done.
Oh,
I
thank
can't
you.
get my chat. I can't get my chat to work properly, but wonderfully done. Full of information, supportive. I think really be helpful things.
Thank you. That's what I aim to bring is something that everybody can use in some way, even if it's like one piece here or one piece there, that you can walk away with something concrete that makes your everyday life a little bit easier. So
Absolutely.
I
Good job.
appreciate y'all attending.
All right, thank you, Kristen. Good job.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you. I think everyone that's still on here, and there's a few of you, I think y'all all need to go back to the main. If you're still here, probably go back to the main.
Yep.
But thank you so much. Alana,
Goodbye,
is there anything
guys.
else you need from me?
No, I think I have everything. I copied the chat to send for attendance. I took pictures for attendance. So I think we're good.
Awesome. Very, very awesome then. I will
All right,
see y'all
thank
later. Thank you.
Hey, bye. You're right on time.
Yes.